Hello everybody, and welcome to Ancient Architects. Please subscribe now to get the latest ancient history news and independent research from around the world. Many of you interested in historic architecture of the world will have heard of the Pre-Columbian archaeological site of Tiahuanaco in western Bolivia. The whole site covers around 4 square kilometres and consists of a number of famous structures including Pumapunku, the Kalasasaya, the Kantatallita Temple, and the terraced platform mound or pyramid known as Akapana. It is an extremely important site in the history of South America due to the seemingly advanced pre-Columbian civilisation that lived in this region, some 4,000 metres above sea level in the centre of the Andean Plateau. There are some truly incredible examples of cut stone, used in enormous, well-planned and well-executed monumental projects, which are also finely decorated as seen on the famous Gateway of the Sun. There is a clear understanding of geometry and proportions, and the people that lived here worked stone with a very high level of precision. But whilst everyone agrees with the amazing nature of this archaeological site, there has been much disagreement over its age. Some say the Tiwanaku culture began around 1600 BC, some say later at 200 to 300 BC, but Arthur Posnansky, who lived between 1873 and 1946, argued that Tiwanaku was constructed much earlier, sometime around 15,000 BC. And was the origin point for many civilisations of the Americas, including the Inca and Maya and so on. Since Posnansky, archaeological research has provided no credible evidence for such an ancient date, and since the publication of his final and most important book on the subject, Tiwanaku, the Cradle of American Man, his extravagant dating ideas are no longer accepted by the archaeological, historical or scientific communities. Scholars are more than willing to accept the 11 to 12,000 year old date for Göbekli Tepe because there is solid evidence for it. But for Tiwanaku, there really is nothing material to draw upon to give the site such an ancient origin. So although Posnansky looks to have been wrong in his idea, his reputation is still intact, because his photographs, descriptions, maps, diagrams and observations are an extremely valuable resource. He remains a respected figure because of the meticulous historical record of the site he left behind. Posnansky used archaeoastronomy for his early dating technique, but, as stated, there is nothing physical and datable to underpin his claim. The pottery that's found at the site does have a datable form, and the site's oldest radiocarbon date is 1580 BC, but for the past 40 plus years, this date has been deemed unreliable, and now the consensus says that this site is no older than 200 to 300 BC. Statistical assessments for the radiocarbon dates actually give a 68% probability that the site was actually founded around 110 AD, and this is actually supported by the fact there are a lack of ceramic styles from earlier periods. So that in a nutshell is some background to this video, because what I want to focus on is a claim made by dozens of people that stalactites that date back to 12,000 years ago have been found inside masonry tunnels beneath structures at Tiwanaku. Since my last video on the subject of Tiwanaku, I've had around 50 communications from people telling me about the stalactites, and if this is correct, well, this could be the hard, datable physical evidence required to prove that Arthur Posnansky was right after all. So I really wanted to dive into this research project to find out where this apparent evidence comes from. It didn't take too long to find the source on the internet. Type 12,000 Tiwanaku into the YouTube search bar and we get a video by Brian Forster called Was Tiwanaku in Bolivia an industrial complex 12,000 plus years ago? The video was published 6 years ago, and with more than 132,000 views it is a popular video, and it features the writer and alternative researcher Antonio Portugal Alvazuri. Talking to the camera in the video, Alvazuri does make a number of claims regarding tunnels beneath the Tiwanaku pyramid or platform of Akapana. He says that in dimensions, these tunnels measure 45 by 75 centimetres, and inside are stalactites, and apparently one of them measures 50 centimetres in length. Although his English is broken, with regards to the stalactites, I think he says that every 2.5 centimetres in length means 100 to 1,000 years of time. And in his conclusion, he says it means that this place was built around 12,000 years ago. And that's just the Akapana pyramid. Alvazuri believes the other structures are in fact even older. Now, I would love for these claims to be correct and accurate, because for me personally, I do find the most ancient megalithic sites the most interesting. So I'm going to look at this in an unbiased way. For a start, yes, there are tunnels, possibly water conduits or channels running beneath the pyramid, and these were examined in 2008 by a team called Geological Exploring, an Italian cultural association who explored, document and performed scientific tests at various cultural and archaeological sites around the world, with full permission of the authorities, of course. In 2008, in association with the Bolivian Ministry of Culture, they explored the underground tunnels beneath the Akapana pyramid. 5 researchers spent 25 days on the project. For a start, the true dimensions of the tunnels are 50 centimetres by 60, but no stalactites look to go from floor to ceiling, so the 50 centimetre length given by Alvazuri doesn't seem to be correct. You can navigate to the Geological Exploring YouTube channel from their website, and here there are, I think, 6 videos showing the inside of the tunnels. These are the only visuals from inside I can find, and this black and white diagram shown on tour by Alvazuri must come from these videos. In fact, I do think I found the exact still. I watched all the videos and took many screenshots of the largest stalactites I could find. You can do the same and you'll see that I am being unbiased in my approach. On average, and based on the dimensions of the tunnel, the stalactites look to be, on average, between 5 and 10 centimetres in length. This one here looks to be the longest, and it may be around 20 centimetres in length. There does possibly look to be some other longer ones in the distance, and it is possible they could be between 25 and 30 centimetres in length. But as you look in the distance, the roof does look to be buckled, so these stalactites may look longer than they actually are. The research team do say that tunnels were affected by a strong seismic event, which would not be uncommon in Bolivia. The stalactites are tubular, often called soda straw stalactites, and, geologically speaking, these are the fastest growing type of stalactite you can find, and according to encyclopedia.com, they can grow as fast as 40mm per year. But this rate is fast and not typical, but it would mean that a Tiwanaku stalactite at 20 centimetres long could technically take as little as 5 years to form. Yes, just 5 years. Here we can see the inside of a British pub cellar, and you can see that many soda straw stalactites have been growing. This pub was built in 1655 and was rebuilt in 1795. Some of them go from ceiling to floor, and their rate of growth was estimated to be 60mm per year. This rate applied to the examples at Tiahuanaco means it would only take around 12.5 years to form a 20 centimetre long stalactite. But let's say the rate was much slower, just 1mm per year. This would mean the longest stalactite took 200 years to form. An even slower rate of 0.5 mm per year means it would take 400 years to form. Even slower, and a rate of 1/4 mm per year means they would only take 800 years to form. If we go to the extremes and apply the growth rate of 1/10 of a millimetre per year, it means that a stalactite 20 centimetres long took 2,000 years to form. Okay, that is a lot of data, so what am I saying? Well, stalactites in the tunnels below the Akapana pyramid don't imply the tunnels are 12,000 years old. Not by a long shot. They are telling us the tunnels are anything from 5 years old to 2,000. But we don't know when they started to grow, if and when they stopped growing, and we don't know the specific rate of growth. Such information wasn't released or discovered by the researchers in 2008. As we can see with the British pub cellar, which shows the ceiling to floor stalactites that formed in just 200 years, we can't look at pictures or video footage of the Tiahuanaco tunnels and estimate a true date. We don't know the growth rate. Variables do need to be factored in, such as climate, rainfall, the height of the water table, damage from earthquakes, the Spanish conquistadors and local fights and battles, and then we also have the renovation work and more. The stalactites really could be quite young, or they could be pretty old, but they certainly don't imply that Tiahuanaco is extremely ancient, and the researchers who went into the tunnels didn't make any such claims in any official way. If we use a very slow growth rate of 1/10 of a millimetre per year, and let's say they did begin to form from day one, well, that would mean that the longest stalactite started to form at some time around the beginning of the first millennium AD, which is pretty close to the consensus age of Tiahuanaco, being between 200 and 300 BC, as well as the analysis that places its origins around 110 AD. But with the level of knowledge that we have, it is all a bit random, and so, in my opinion, I don't think that these stalactites can be used in any way as a reliable dating method for Tiahuanaco. They have to be used in conjunction with other datable evidence like pottery styles and radiocarbon dates. And when we do that, well, if anything, the stalactites only further discredit the idea that Tiahuanaco had very ancient origins. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Ancient Architects. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel, please like the video, and please leave a comment below. Thank you very much.